Thanks for joining us here on Seattle Seahawks Today. Tyler Jones here with you as we are talking about potential free agent targets for your Seattle Seahawks. I have three players that could be making a return to Seattle after getting released earlier this offseason. Could they be back like they never left? We will examine the possibility of these three individuals in just a matter of moments. Before we do, I'm very curious. Little survey for the 12s out there. Who is your favorite former Seattle Seahawks player that's currently still in the NFL? Give me a name. Is it Bobby? Is it Russ? Is it Jamal Adams, Quandre Diggs? Somebody out there, give me a name of a former Seahawks player that is playing for somebody else in the comments section. We'll get started with today's show. Let's begin with Jamal Adams. Jamal Adams still not that old, actually, as he's 28 and still looking for employment. And we've heard about the possibility of him making a return to Seattle, but not at the safety position. John Schneider and Mike Macdonald have both openly talked about the idea of bringing Jamal Adams back, but to play the linebacker role, an off-ball linebacker position for this Seahawks defense under Mike Macdonald. And what's interesting about this is it's totally different than what the Seahawks have invested in the linebacker position so far this offseason. The big emphasis that we've seen with Dodson and Baker, contrary to what the Seahawks had with Bobby Wagner and Jordan Brooks, and even Devin Bush for that matter as well, is that Dodson and Baker are both very good coverage linebackers. So if you bring in Jamal Adams, what has been his big weakness? Coverage. So that would be different. And there's a couple other things that you talk about when you bring in Jamal Adams that I think are red flags for obvious reasons. One of those, we mentioned the coverage liability that he is. He struggled to stay healthy over the last few seasons as well. And then I wonder, is Jamal that good of an individual? And I hate to say that, but when we hear the rumblings about him leaving his team out to dry and being a no-show for that Monday night game against the Philadelphia Eagles, not being there to support his teammates when he couldn't play, or when he calls a reporter's wife ugly on social media and has those outbursts and all that, I don't know if I want him in my locker room. I say I don't know. I do know. I don't want him in my locker room. I know the discussions are going on that this is still a possibility, and we've talked about even the Niners potentially being interested in Jamal Adams. We mentioned that here on the channel about a week or so ago. But Jamal Adams, I think there's more bad than good when it comes to the player that Jamal Adams is at this point. I just can't trust it. Too many red flags for me of all the things we just talked about for me to want to bring him back to this Seattle Seahawks team. And when we just narrow it down to statistics, right? Okay, let's look at the PFF coverage grades. Besides the other stuff we talked about, the injuries and the character concerns and all that, let's just focus on the stuff on the football field. The raw analytics from Pro Football Focus of those coverage stats we've talked about, they ain't pretty. An overall coverage grade at last year, 50.7. 2022 in 8 snaps and 81, so that doesn't really count with the limited number of snaps. 2021, 47.4. 2020, 53.1. I would be concerned. I would be very concerned about how much Jamal Adams could give you even if he was healthy and if he kept his character in check and all that. To me, it's a no. It's a no, dog, to quote the great Randy Jackson. What do you guys think? You make the call here on Seahawks Today. Should Seattle bring back Jamal Adams? It's our pinned comment today. Type HY for hell yes, HN for hell no. Let me know in the comment section below. Today's show is sponsored by Prize Picks. Prize Picks is the place to go for daily fantasy made easy. Here's how it works. Choose 2 or more players on any given category. Get the choice of more or less, whether you're talking fantasy points, maybe it's rebounds in basketball, goals in hockey, maybe it's home runs in baseball, all sorts of different categories and leagues to choose from. You can mix and match the leagues as well. I'm looking ahead to the start of the NFL season as I got our guy DK, yardage all day, he rules, They have more than 1,025.5 receiving yards this season. Also going with Lamar Jackson of the Baltimore Ravens to have more than 3,600.5 passing yards. If I put $20 down and this hits, that's turned into $60 on Prize Picks. Play along with me. PrizePicks.com/CLNS. Promo code CLNS for a $100 deposit match on your first deposit. The link is in the comments and description of today's video. Download Prize Picks today and play along with us. All right, let's talk Quandre Diggs now. Now, I got to say, I've always been a big fan of Quandre. I thought he had a very good run in Seattle and was a great vocal voice for this locker room. I'm way more open to the idea of Quandre coming back than I am Jamal Adams. Yes, he did have a down year last year. Last year was the worst season that we saw for Quandre Diggs in his tenure with the Seattle Seahawks. But he still might be able to turn things around. And with still being available at this point in free agency, I think the price tag on Quandre is probably down considerably from what he likely was during the start of free agency and what you would have been paying him when he was on this team originally before he was cut to save $11 million, right? And it wasn't like it was that long ago that he was playing very well. You go back to 2022, he was a Pro Bowler. Went on a 3-year run of Pro Bowls there with the Seattle Seahawks. And think about this, okay? As we're talking the X's and O's and the scheme and all that, the Seahawks, the area that they didn't really address in this draft that they probably should have was the safety spot, right? They took care of a lot of other needs, but they didn't really take care of the safety spot. And so there is a need for now, if you will, for some help at that safety position. I like Julian Love. I like Jenkins, Wallace. You get Kobe Bryant there. But the Seahawks plan to use, with Mike Macdonald, these 3 high safety looks where they have 3 safeties on the field at the same time. Why not Quandre Diggs as one of those safeties? I am way more open to that possibility than I am the idea of Jamal Adams. To me, that one makes much more sense. And then you got flexibility with Kobe Bryant. Maybe Kobe Bryant could go back to playing corner potentially. There's things you could do if you bring in Quandre Diggs as far as that goes. And as far as coverage, way better than Jamal Adams with the numbers that we showed you earlier. Last year we mentioned down year 55.4, but a 76.4 in 2022, a 72.3 in 2021, and a 58.6 in 2020. I can live with these numbers from Quandre Diggs there as far as that goes. So what about Quandre? Do you think Seattle should bring him back? Let me know what you think. Why for yes, in for no, weigh in. Want to make sure you subscribe to Seahawks Today by Chat Sports as we're bringing you daily Seattle Seahawks coverage like no one else is. In fact, sometimes 2 or 3 times a day here on the channel. Live shows every Wednesday. Watch parties every game day. We're talking everything from rookie minicamp to mandatory minicamp, OTAs, got you down to training camp and more. It's all in one place. The most comprehensive Seattle Seahawks channel on YouTube is Seahawks Today. We just reached 52,000 subscribers, and we're not stopping there. Join the family now, youtube.com/SeahawksTV, and never miss a moment. Last on our list is Nick Bellore, our old friend, the former Seahawks fullback, linebacker, special teams ace. He still remains available at this point in time. And I look at Nick Bellore. He's a low-cost player that can contribute on special teams. And the Seahawks actually don't have a fullback at the moment. I don't know what the plans are of this Ryan Grubb air raid scheme, if they want to use a fullback anyway. But if you bring in Nick Bellore, you would at least have the flexibility, the option to do so if you're running goal line packages, I formation, maybe you need an extra blocker or whatever that is. Nick Bellore could potentially do that for you and provide some depth as a linebacker as well. Nick Bellore, talented football player. He was a Pro Bowler this year. I don't know how many people realize that. The Seahawks saved about $3 million in cap space by releasing him. Was well-liked among his teammates. Very good locker room guy. I'm open to that possibility with Nick Bellore. To me, that's one that could make sense. But what could hold him back as well, something to ponder, is do the Seahawks want a guy that's primarily on special teams? Do you want to use a roster spot for that? That remains to be seen. Here's the numbers of what he did the last few seasons in his primarily special teams role. 13 tackles last year, 15 the 2 years prior. So there you have it. That is our list of potential Seahawks players to keep an eye on that could come back despite being released. Who's a player you want to see the Seahawks sign? Weigh in the comment section and let us know what you think who that is. Thanks for joining us here on Seahawks Today. If you made it to the end of today's video, that means you are a real one. Spam real one in the comments, and we'll see you next time here on Seahawks Today.